Hello and a warm welcome to EPM TV. We're here today to discuss the second Oracle EPM Index. We've researched 800 organisations in Europe and North America to understand their quest for management excellence through enterprise performance management. With me today are Clive Longbottom from Quo Circa, who conducted the research, and Gary Pugh, Oracle's VP of Industry and Applications Marketing. The first thing to note is that we've noticed a significant improvement in the figures since the time we did the research last, which was March last year. Gary, perhaps you could take us through some of the details.
Yeah, sure. If you look at the figures, the EPM index has risen over the period from around about 5 when we did the first survey, up to about 7 now with this second survey, which is really encouraging because what it's showing us and demonstrating us is these companies, these businesses are really starting to grasp and understand the value of EPM and what it can bring to their business. Some of the processes performed particularly well. So when we look at business planning and investing in core competencies of the business, these shone through.
So, Clive, what do you think has driven this improvement in the figures that we've seen?
I think it's the recession. When you look at the good times, everything goes nice and smoothly and it covers a multitude of sins. Right. Now, all of a sudden, they've had to really concentrate on their core competencies. They've had to look at reduced budgets and resources, and this means that they've really got to look at what differentiates them in the market. And EPM is one of those things where they can do really well.
And I think, interesting enough as well, financial reporting was shown through as the strongest focus area for these organisations.
Which again reflects this need to make sure that solid reports are given into the markets.
Right, okay. So we've seen an improvement in 3 processes, the planning, reporting and modelling. There are 3 other key management processes. Gary, how did we perform on those?
Well, I think the first thing to note is all the processes improved from the research last time round, which is good news. But if we did to draw our attention to the areas where we might have some concerns, stakeholder management was the weakest process last time round, and surprise, surprise, it's still the weakest process this time round. So clearly the businesses need to focus more on their stakeholders, bringing them on board, the employees, the customers, perhaps the shareholders, in where the business is going. And also the whole concept of business modelling, how we can react quickly in the marketplace, analyse and adjust the business, again needs some focus as we move forward.
So, Clive, do you think the recession has made this kind of adjustment more difficult?
In some ways, yes. I mean, what we tend to see is that although we've seen improvement in each of these sub-areas, they're still not joined up. Everything is still being done in isolation. So organisations have improved their processes, but they're not linking them together. And without that linkage between the various processes that are involved in management excellence, they're still going to underperform. So I think we've really got to see that those organisations showed in the research that those who have got things joined up, where they are actually they're levelled out on their performance, they really have got the better overall performance than those who've got spikes hidden in the sub-indices.
So for those organisations that maybe are less well aligned, how can they address the obstacles to this, do you think?
Well, they need to look at the data. A lot of the data which they're trying to get hold of is either hidden within single departments or it's still in the minds of people. It's not codified at all. They've got to look at how they can bring all of that together, ensure that the whole organisation can get hold of all of this, and therefore, once they actually bring all of these processes together, the organisation is all pulling in the same direction. We also found that those who truly understand the importance of business intelligence really perform better than the average. And it's been great because this research has shown that business intelligence is becoming more important in the perception of the respondents.
I'd like to take this point a little bit further with you, if I may, Gary.
Yeah, sure.
The whole idea of business intelligence as a key part of enterprise performance management. There's some interesting stuff in the survey, isn't there?
Yeah, sure. Again, referring back to the last survey, a quarter of the respondents were saying, well, what's business intelligence and what's it going to bring to my business? Well, if we look at the results this time around, 50% of those businesses are saying, yeah, absolutely, business reporting, business intelligence is something which I need to underpin my business with. And what's also important, adding to Clive's point, is those companies viewing the processes in isolation are further down the chain in terms of the overall EPM index. What we're seeing is where those companies are identifying all the 6 processes and seeing them equally important and working on them together are starting to shine through at the top of the index. So business intelligence absolutely critical, as is reviewing the whole thing across the board.
Yeah, there's some encouraging stuff in the survey. What I'd like to do now is to turn around to the performance by country. Gary, perhaps I can start with you. How have the various country balances changed?
Well, I mean, there's been some interesting movement on the countries. If we look at Italy, for example, in the first index, Italy was right up there in second place, and they've dropped right down to the bottom of the pile this time round. So, interesting from an Italian perspective. But then some of the other countries have outperformed based on the statistics from last time round. So Germany, Iberia, Switzerland, these companies are moving up the chain. Interesting enough, the Nordics is a case in point where they've stayed the same. And interestingly, the Nordics have a very relatively low stakeholder engagement score. And what we've noticed in the survey research is those organisations that are higher on the stakeholder engagement have a better overall EPM index. So I think there's some work to be done in those organisations to really push through on that stakeholder engagement.
Yeah. I'd like to focus in on the Italian side of things because that's quite a surprising change, isn't it, Clive? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when we look at it, in the first cycle of the research, we were surprised at how well Italy did, and we actually predicted that Italy would not do so well the second time around. What we felt was that there was a lack of understanding of what EPM was all about, and the recession has uncovered the issues that were underlying what was happening in Italy, and now they're having to be far more circumspect over how they approach EPM. So this has brought them back to a level of reality. The big surprise to us was the UK. Previously, in the first cycle, the UK had done reasonably well, and now it's average or below average on all of the indices. It's done well on business planning, which obviously is a very, very important place for it to concentrate on, but it needs to look at all the rest and bring itself up, otherwise it's not going to be able to compete on the global market. As Gary was saying, if you look at the UK as well, it's not done very well on the stakeholder side, and without that input, we feel that it's going to be held back.
No, interesting point. Let's change the focus a little bit to the industries now, because we have some information about how the various industries have performed. Gary, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, clearly we've monitored a number of different industries, and I think there's a couple of surprises in this round of the research. First of all, utilities, fourth last time round, jumped right up to the top. So clearly the utilities businesses are really focusing on getting that balance right between those six processes in this strive for management excellence. And perhaps a little less surprisingly is that financial services takes a bit of a plunge and drops 4 places down the ladder, but I guess
it just reflects that they've had a lot of other things that they've had to concentrate on. Yeah.
Okay. Gentlemen, thanks for that. So, in summary, we see good general progress for enterprise performance management across Europe and North America. The internal focus areas, business planning, financial reporting, good progress. More work needing to be done on the external side of things, stakeholder engagement, reactivity to marketing circumstances. So that's it for the Oracle EPM Index Survey 2. We look forward to the time when we can do the third survey and bring you some more results to understand better progress. For now, I'd like to say thanks very much to Clive and to Gary for their input for today, and we look forward to seeing you next time on EPM TV. Thanks. Bye-bye.